Roddy roll. All right, this is a regular board meeting of Tatum ISD. It is now 5:34, August 28, 2023. We have a forum. This probably leading the pledge of allegiance, followed by Mr. Skinner giving the
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Lord, we'd like to say thank you for today, and thank you for giving us the opportunity to come and represent our district, our students, community. Lord, I pray as we go through this meeting that everything we do is honorable and in your sight. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
on forum.
Yeah, we do. But I'm going to recommend that we move some agenda on action items up, E, F, G, H, and I. The board's okay with that? Seems that's what everybody's here for. So move those items up. So we're going to start with our action items.
If Mr. Adams will read the procedures for public comment.
Yes. Public comment. Yeah, G. Yeah, we're just going to move it up.
Tatum ISD Board of Trustees invites our community to speak during our public meetings. Please know that this is a listening opportunity for the board. No action will be taken during this meeting on topics shared by the board during this portion of the meeting. Persons who wish to address the board shall sign up prior to the beginning of the meeting and shall indicate the topic about which they wish to speak. The board asks that each participant's comment pertaining to the district business be no longer than 3 minutes. The board has also adopted complaint policies that are designed to secure at the lowest possible administrative level a prompt and equitable resolution of complaints and concerns for employees, students, and their parents, and the general public. See board policies DBA, DGBA, FNG, and FGF. Policies or procedures for filing complaints may be found in the Tatum ISD Board Building, Administration Building.
So I believe we have one speaker signed up, but we also have somebody maybe else that won't speak. And I know some board members were reached out today, some were not. So we'd like to hear also what was said to them possibly. So if it's okay with the board, we'd allow them an opportunity to speak as well. So Linebarger, if you have a representative would like to speak, we'll have 3 minutes.
Certainly.
Our sign up is, Ms. Sloan, what's our sign up?
From 5 p.m. the day we post until 1:30 the day of the board meeting.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. We have a presentation to pass out. The board may. My understanding is we have a couple of items on the agenda today. I think the first item is to break your interlocal agreement with Russ County. We've asked you not to do that. We would ask you to visit with Russ County Tax Office and talk to them about what that might entail. This is at least a 38-year agreement, and you need to understand, I think, what the ramifications of that would be. And so here today is the tax collector, and she can speak to that. Secondly, I think there's an action item to consider permanent contract with Linebarger Law Firm. Just a couple of highlights. It's a 38-year contract, so we've been working with you for 38 years. Many things that I think need to be pointed out, first of all, which is you have a 5-year TDA collection rate in excess of 123%. Most of that is for very specific reasons related to the appraisal role, having things added and deleted to it. A couple of other things is we've helped the appraisal district. We worked out $1 billion problem which had with Lumen Energy in their bankruptcy. There are many things like that. So I want to introduce to you a few of the folks in our office, in our staff with Linebarger firm. Please stand up. One of which lives in the community, and one of which has sent her children to your community and lives nearby. 2 others that live in Russ County, work in the tax office, and have worked this account for 38 years.
Since 1988.
That's right. So I think a little bit longer. But anyway, thank you very much. We have several attorneys that have worked that account and still work that account. This is not a short-term relationship. And so we've had a great relationship with you. What we've asked for you to do is at the very least vote against it, or if nothing else, go ahead and table that and have a presentation from us, because we understand you had a presentation from the Prairie Firm. We think that you have the right to have a presentation prior. So at 123% collection rate, at least 100% collection rate last year, there's not much that this district's been missing. Overall, I think if things were pointed out on the tax roll, you want to talk to each and every one of those issues on the tax roll. So I don't think you want to throw away that long-term relationship. So we'd at the very least also like to ask you to visit with the tax assessor collector. And she's available tonight. So there's no reason why the board could not alter their rules and allow for both parties to be heard. But we do have a presentation. Thank you much. Questions?
Would the tax assessor want to speak for? I don't mind giving her 3 minutes.
I believe she would. The board have any questions?
My name is Nisha Parton. I am the current tax assessor collector for Rusk County. I currently collect the taxes under an interlocal agreement that was signed back in April of 2007. Under that interlocal, my office provides a whole list of services for your district. Tonight you have on your agenda, item terminating the interlocal agreement. Prior to tonight, no one from your district contacted me to discuss terms for the interlocal agreement. As two government agencies, it is best that we can work together, and we work together everything works more efficiently and effectively for both my office, your district, and importantly, your constituents. If I'm reading the agenda correctly for tonight, you are attempting to terminate my interlocal and force my office to collect your taxes. I would prefer to work together and have a professional relationship. It is your right to force my office to collect your taxes, but I want to make sure you understand what that decision means for your taxpayers and for the cost of your district. The current interlocal states that the county retains the right to select delinquent tax collection firm. Currently, that is the Lombard Law Firm. The reason for the language is the interlocal agreement is that having consolidated collections is the best, most efficient option for all our constituents and my office. Currently, my office collects 23 entities, and all of those entities are consolidated. That means my office has only one delinquent tax firm to work with. It's the most efficient and effective way to handle business. If the county has Lombard as the delinquent tax firm, Tatum ISD uses someone else, this will increase confusion, phone calls, and work for my office. That additional time that my office must put into the accounts will add significant cost to my operating expenses, including employee time. That additional cost will not be borne by the county, but would be billed directly to Tatum ISD.
Amen.
Currently, the collections cost $35,970. There are 6,706 parcels in Tatum ISD. Out of those 6,706 parcels, only 50,133 of them are in Rusk County. If you force collections on me instead of using interlocal, you will have to collect with Panola County for collections of 10,573 parcels, and that are in Panola County. You will also have to pay Panola County for those parcels to be collected. If I am forced to do your collections by resolution and forced to use multiple delinquent law firms, I estimate extra time necessary to do your collections will be equivalent to possibly 2.5 full-time employees. The full-time employees' salaries will be approximately $39,000 plus a benefit package, which would add approximately $15,000. The entire cost would have to be paid by Tatum ISD. So your cost of collections in Rusk County would be approximately $135,000. As a reminder, the cost will include the collections of 10,000 parcels that are Panola County. Is that done?
That's good.
Give me the number again.
On the
Total
which one?
collection.
The total collections? On the cost now, or
No, what you estimated.
approximately $135,000?
So you're saying we pay 40, and it's gonna go up to 135,000?
Approximately?
Yeah.
This is a rough estimate. I didn't know nothing about this until today,
Okay.
so I was estimating.
I have one quick question. What was the document that I needed through Rusk County that I was not able to receive?
an electronic version of your delinquent tax roll.
You know why I could not get that by chance?
I don't ever remember being asked for it.
Would you like to speak?
Good evening. Thank you for having us back and considering working and partnering with the McCrary Law Firm. The tax code says that you can't be charged more than the actual cost of the services provided to you by the tax assessor collector. MBVA has a full-time staff that is fully prepared and willing to answer phone calls and questions from any delinquent taxpayer that has to do with the Tatum Independent School District. I find it hard to believe that it would require 2.5 full-time employees to answer phone calls that might be created by having an additional firm represent you. I want to remind you about a few reminders from Stacy and Connor's presentation that our revenue increases range from 22 to 40% in locations across the state from clients that we have taken over from your current firm. We file more suits in this area for $100,000 delinquent than your current firm. We close more suits than your current firm. We offer value-added services at no cost to the district that your current firm charges for. We have a mineral department, and based on a summary analysis of your paper delinquent tax roll, which was several thousand pages, delinquent royalty interests seem to be an issue here. We do in-house title work, and we resolve problem titles, very difficult titles. And some of your largest delinquent taxpayers are long-standing delinquencies that we believe to be hard titles. From January 1 of 2018 through June the 29th of 2023, there have been 29 tax suits filed on behalf of Tatum ISD, according to the records of the district clerk. During that same time period, we filed 469 suits for Gladewater ISD. During that same time period, we filed 370 suits for the Pine Tree Independent School District. Now, both of those school districts do have a slightly larger tax roll than the Tatum Independent School District, but when you compare those numbers, 469 and 370 to 29, I believe that you all have been missing out.
45 seconds.
Does anybody have any questions?
Any questions of the board?
Dr. Richardson, could we maybe inquire as to why there were only 29 suits filed?
You're more than welcome. That's a
Line Barter?
That'd be a great question to ask. And actually, what you're asking is, what is your delinquent tax roll? And that's what we need to present to you. Because if you look at it outside of its background, then you won't be looking at it correctly. The answer, when you have 123% collection rate, is we do a lot of work that are letters, phone calls, personal visits, and we file a suit. We sold $1.7 million worth of properties in Tatum ISD over the last 5 years. We have a very robust collection program, very robust.
So were the tax suits just not needed? Is that why they weren't filed?
We don't file it, again, you're starting to ask on an individual account basis, and I'll be happy to present that. That takes a while, but let's talk about it. I mean, I'm ready to, I had it. So if we talk about the delinquent roll, sometimes you have to file a suit. That's part of the program. But you don't file a suit until you have had the attempts to make the contact and make some contact back and again with payment agreement. Part of your role, 30–40% of it is sitting under deferral. You cannot file a suit on deferral properties. They're deferred by law. Now, that doesn't mean they won't get paid. So there's it's a long, long list. It's a long conversation, but it needs to be had. If we needed to file more suits to get to 123%, we would have filed those suits. we've got more people, more personnel, more resources than anybody has. Everybody in this room has touched your files.
What are you calling a deferred property?
That's a property where a person's over 65 or they are disabled, and they can, on their homestead, defer the payment of those taxes. They continue to accrue, they get a tax bill, but they don't have to pay it until they're no longer the owner of that property. So your whole tax roll is very, very, it's an account by account basis. You have to look at every account. You can't do a snapshot picture and say that Tatum needs 406. Now, there may be a day where Tatum needs 406, but it's not today. It wasn't this, it's not this last time period. But if you want 406, I'll go file them, because these ladies and these gentlemen can do it. We've got the manpower. We're right here at your doorstep. We live here. This is home.
I'll just add briefly that one of the benefits of our firm is sitting right here, and it's Cindy Swan, who's worked for the tax office in all those years. And if we had a little bit more time to visit, we'd be happy to, as Jim mentioned, talk about those items, because Cindy has worked the roles for many years and knows that lawsuits are an important tool, but it's one of the tools in the toolbox. And it's a burden placed on the taxpayer. They have to pay additional fees. The district clerk has to process additional items, and the district court has to process all of that. So we do use lawsuits anytime we need to, and we have lawsuits and we work them regularly. As Jim mentioned, the sales, if we didn't have lawsuits and judgments, we wouldn't have anything to sell that $1.7 million worth of property. And so unless it is necessary, we don't put that extra burden on the constituents. And because Cindy and Michelle both, Michelle's been with the firm for over 15 years, lifelong Rose County resident, knows the area, knows the taxpayers, knows that they can pick up the phone and call someone and say, you've got to make these payments, and knows how to follow up. All of that local knowledge is completely priceless to these collections.
We keep that history of who we contacted and talked to in the past. So if there's a business owner, they may have an accountant that pays their taxes. We've got that record. We know who that was. If they have a spouse or someone who normally pays, we look at that. If they have a bank and they have a loan against it, we call the bank. So we work with everybody to try to get it paid, especially if it's a homestead. I think that's what you would expect and what you would do if you were trying to collect. So we try to mirror what we think our client wants us to do. But if you're telling me you want 406, if you want them by the end of this week, I'll have them done. That's how, I mean, it's a lot of work on the courts, it's a lot of work on the sheriff, and it's a lot of work on the clerks, but it can be done. We can get them out. The problem is the courts and the sheriff, all of them have to do their part of the work, so we try to pick and choose the right ones that need to be done. And so certainly if enough time has passed and they've not contacted us, we have lawsuits. And we can talk about projectile work and all those things that are related to it. I think you deserve to hear the work that goes into it, the work that has gone into it, the work that needs to be done. Thank you.
All right. We're moving down to E. Okay. I need a motion to approve the termination of tax relations in the local agreement with Russ County.
Mr. President, I also move.
Motion by Ms. McElwain. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Williams. Any further discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carried.
Next, consider and approve a resolution requiring Russ County Tax Assessor Clerk to collect Tatum ISD taxes pursuant to section 6.22 of the Texas Property Tax Code.
I need a motion to approve the resolution requiring Russell County Tax Assessor to collect Tatum ISD pursuant to the section 6.22 of Tatum, Texas Property Tax Code as presented.
Mr. President, I so move.
Mr. Williams,
I second that.
second by Ms. McElwain. Any further discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carried. Okay. We have a motion to approve termination of all contracts with Lineberger, Gogan, Blair, and Sampson LLP as presented.
Mr. President, I so move.
Got a motion by Mr. Williams. Is there a second?
I second
Second by Ms. McElwain. Any further discussion?
I don't know, I'm just not.
it.
I'm not comfortable. I'm sorry, I'm not comfortable without. So I'm either vote against it or abstain.
This is a situation that has to be decided.
Can we table this?
We can postpone that, but we've already voted to terminate. And you're welcome to abstain.
I'm not comfortable, doing this at this point. I mean,
That's what you do.
I feel like that we should give Lineberger an opportunity to do what they did. You know, bring it to us or something. I mean, yes, it probably should have happened beforehand. I agree with that. I totally agree with it. But if we need to do apples to apples, or that's my thoughts.
There will be a few more questions.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like that we need not to, I feel like we're going off of what they say, not giving Lineberger an opportunity to say, maybe it's not apples to apples. Maybe, you know, but explain these deferrals, these 30 to 40% deferrals. Explain this. Not that we may change, I mean, we still may change, but I just have questions and I want to let them sleep at night.
Good point. I agree on it.
Yeah.
And that's what you're,
What do we need to do about the
we need to rescind that.
action items we've already approved?
Well, you have to do that, we had to do it in that order.
I should have spoke up sooner, I'm sorry, I didn't.
So we can take that back up. We can work our way back up if you'd like. So why don't you go back to, now let's go back up. Let's go F, do F again.
Let me ask this question, since it's already. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
We just need one action, we have to make a motion to table.
yeah, just do a rescind right now on that. So make a motion to rescind F and E.
All right. I need a motion to rescind the approval of the resolution requiring Russell County Tax Assessor collect Tatum ISD, so just section 22 of Texas Property Code. And,
No, just do that one first.
okay, all right,
Do that one first.
okay. Hang on. Okay, can we get a motion motion on that to rescind?
Mr. President, I so move.
Motion by Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith, and a second by Mr. Skinner. Any further discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carried. E. All right. I need a motion to rescind the approval of the termination of tax collection and local agreement with Russ County. We have a motion by Mr. Crawford. A second.
I second that.
Second by Mr. Smith. Any further discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries.
So we'll be getting with both firms, so y'all can both present at the same time. So you will hear from me on when that will be. Y'all are free to go. Yeah, that's what I asked. Yep. Approved. That was the request. She said she needed. Okay, let's run on in the consent items. Huh? Where was it? It's in our email, but she said she didn't have it. So, hey, that's all right. We all table it. We'll get to hear those things.
I need a motion to approve the consent item as presented minutes of the regular board meeting of board meeting of June 12, 2023, minutes of the regular board meeting of July 29, 2023, Tatum ISD 2023-24 strategic plan. Lisa Crass retainer agreement for 2023-24. Appraisal calendar for 2023-2024. Student code of conduct for 2023-24. Region 7 ESC 2023-24 service agreement. TSB policy update 124 affecting local board policies, local county inventories as presented.
Make a motion to accept the minutes as presented.
The page. One more. At the very bottom. Team page.
Oh, okay, and Payment ID team operating procedure as presented. Now,
Make a motion.
have a motion by Mr. Crawford,
Mr. President, I second that.
and a second by Mr. Smith. Any further discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carried.
Yeah. Public notice of intent to apply for federal funds. This is something that we have to do every time in the fall. So these are our federal funds listed on page 49. And so let's just kind of give you that background. The next thing is ESSER stakeholder survey report. And if you have any comments on that, I have something I'm supposed to read for that. Tonight, we're asking the board's input regarding responses from the 23-24 Comprehensive Needs Assessment Survey, the request for public comment, ESSA survey, and the notice of intent to apply for federal funds, applications, and plans. The updated return to in-person instruction and continuity of services plan in English and Spanish have been posted on the district webpage. The survey results were shared with the district improvement team on August the 9th, 2023. And do you have any comments regarding the survey responses? I know y'all have had an opportunity to look through these at the responses that were provided. Any questions? Next item is our preliminary STAR EOC scores. Yeah. Again, we will not get the final scores till the end of September. Preliminary scores, I shot y'all some of those to compare us to the region and the state. And I told y'all that this chart right here looks very nice compared to the one that I'm going to show in a minute. But as you can see in biology, when it comes to the scores being ahead in the region and the state, we're clearly ahead there. English 1, we're ahead there. English 2, 87, and Texas was 74, the Region 7 school district 75. Again, I don't know why it flipped up, but in Algebra 1, as far as approaches, which is passing, we were at 83, and you can tell above there. Here, we've got some areas that we need to work on improving because we are, lower than the state of Texas by 1 point, but still, we want to show some growth. U.S. history, we're ahead, in 2 out of the 3 categories. And then 3rd grade, Tatum is pretty much ahead in the meets and math in approaches and meets. And then math overall, ahead there in 3rd grade. 4th grade, this is where we've kind of struggled a little bit this past year. It's still 77. Region 7 was 77. And then, of course, the state was 78, but still, we're going to count that as a loss because that's where we need to improve in these areas. Same thing with math in 4th grade. We're better than everybody around, but then when it comes to meets and masters, getting some of those kids to get to that level, we've got to do a better job of that. We just don't want our kids to pass. We need to get them to show a year's growth and everything. Reading, 5th grade, again, kind of right in the mix. I prefer us to be about 10 points ahead as much as we can any given time.
We'll make some changes.
Sure, yeah, there's personnel. There's been some turnover there for this year. 5th grade math, very strong, as you can tell, across East Texas and across the state. Our 5th grade has done a real good job there in math. Science, yeah, but we need to improve more. I mean, that might be a positive, might be a win for some people. That's not a win for us. And so we've got to get that number up. When we roll into 6th grade middle school, we've got some good areas here. This teacher is now our ag teacher at the high school. So I understand now why the principal was a little reluctant on letting her move at the time. So, yes. I personally think, I don't really get involved much with these scores and talking to teachers. I tell them all the time, I'm not going to talk to you about scores. But I did personally go to her classroom and tell her thank you, because she used a curriculum that we're trying to implement here also. And so I wanted to make sure if we drop her name that she wouldn't be upset, so to speak. But overall, 6th grade did okay. 7th grade, we've got some areas. Again, most people wouldn't be that upset, having a 36, but we like green. We're Tatum, right?
Yeah.
So, 8th grade, again, this was kind of, y'all know this was on my radar. Keep an eye on that. So, did better than we thought we would do. But again, science and social studies got us. and made some changes there. I think it'll be positive as well. So that's the pretty one. The ugly one that I was telling y'all about is this one. And again, you've got to realize these are two different tests. I mean, we've talked about that. I mean, it's not you're taking the same type of test that you took in 22 that you're going to take in 23. So I'm not really harping on this much, but I want you to see, because we do know the test 100% online.
Yeah, that's.
Wasn't before. We know the questions, and we know the rigor that it was presented at is at a higher level across the state.
Yeah.
So when we're really comparing 22 to 23, it's not an apples to apples, but it kind of gives you an idea too, with a harder test given in 23 and an easier test, let's say in 22. And so there's some good things and there's some not so good things. So we'll try to, so I don't have much room in here to get this. Let's see. Let me see if I can shrink this down. All right, I think everybody can. So this was 21 to 22. A lot of green. That means we improved from 21 to 22. So this is 22 to 23. This is our high school. They actually improved with a harder test. So that ought to make you feel good. That ought, hey, that's pretty good. But we're looking at some meets and masters at -13, too. That doesn't make you feel good. Yeah. I mean, we've got to do something. We haven't had this type in a while. And so these are some areas that we're really concentrating on this year. But when you look at the high school campus from last year, we were 7 out of 15. This year, we're 9 out of 15. So we've actually improved at the high school. When you drop down to our elementary, this is where I'm alarmed, is our elementary. Yeah, you saw some great scores with elementary. You saw where we were beaten in the region, we were beaten in the state. But when we're just comparing us, we're just looking at Taylor. But again, I remind you, it's not an accurate thing to really look at, because again, you've got this test that's a year old, a lot of paper, pencil, the elementary kids took last year, and now everybody's taking it online. And so, and the test is a lot harder. And so we will do this same chart next year to compare 22 to 23. And again, we hope these 4 areas of green where they either stayed the same or improved, some of these will change around.
But last year when we set the bar, we knew this was probably going to have a little bit of test change.
Absolutely. And I've emphasized this. The state of Texas has pretty much informed us that if you got a 89, then you're going to at least get a 79. You will drop a letter grade. Because again, they in 10 school districts have filed a lawsuit. They filed it last week to stop the A through F from going forward. Because again, they are utilizing 2022 students to base the CCMR off of. So my kid graduated in 22. He's been gone a year. I mean, he started his 2nd year of school, but his scores are going to be what going to affect us. That's not right. You can't change the rules after you've done the test and everything. And so that's where the commissioner has stated, end of September, we'll all know. And that's why I've been up front with y'all. Yeah, it looks great, blah, 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 but it won't be great. And these school districts that, I mean, I'm hoping they're telling the same. I can't help other school districts, but I hope they're giving the same message out to their community and their board as well, because again, you can throw a bunch of flashy numbers up there and everybody's, ooh, wow, that looks great. Mm-mm, not with it. Whenever they determine the accountability, we don't know. Yeah. We just know a what if, and the what if calculator is going to be for every parent, every community member to see it online. When you go look at it, your school district, wherever y'all's kids go, it will say, a what if for 21, 22, and then it'll have the 22, 23. So basically, they're going to try to soften the sting, so to speak. So, but it's going to be a sting to some communities. And it's going to be a sting to us, because we think, oh, well, they're great, we improved here. No. So, and once we have that, we'll do district goal, that district goal 2, which we'll talk about that probably in the September meeting, because we'll have the CCMR out and we'll be able to basically tell you what our rating's going to be and all that stuff, because it'll be out by then anyway. But we'll go through all the CCMR stuff then.
What was the date on that?
September, well, no, it's 26, I think. It's the end of September, so no, we won't even have it then. So that'd be the October board meeting.
Yeah.
I think it's September 26th, the public gets the information. So, that's just, but I wanted y'all to have that in front of you. And again, I just wanted to show you the red and the green.
Mostly the red.
Yeah, mostly the red. So,
I expected it with it being online. I know they gotta get used to it, but first year, it'd be.
I mean, the only thing I could say to look at too is when you look at our scores compared to region and stuff, maybe there's some type of hope,
Yeah, right.
but
Those were fine.
I don't know. All right, where are we at?
Put lipstick on a pig, it's just pig. I think somebody's already voted on that.
Funny.
All right, so we are now for our public hearing to discuss the 23-24 school year budget and proposed tax rate. Mr. Miles?
All right, so taking the compressed rate that were given by TEA, in calculations, to get our MO rate and then our INS rate, that's what you see there, 0.6984, 0.2421, that's MO and INS, and those are the estimated revenues that does include some penalty interest and liquid stuff. So, that's kind of looks like what the revenue's gonna be. There's some additional state revenue right there, which I say state, sorry, not just state, additional revenue where we get different money from SHARS program, from renting our buildings, just miscellaneous revenue, interest at the bank, that sort of thing. Our state revenue looks like it's going to be at approximately 883. That's both the revenue streams we get from the state that's based, mostly on your ADA, which is really ADA driven. So that's kind of where we sit as a whole. Now, let's talk about that number right there. There's a deficit. 231,000 of that is 2 projects that we already voted on this past year that have not been completed because of we haven't got the switches in, which is the Wi-Fi stuff to make our computers communicate better, and the AC units that we were at the high school. So that 231 of that negative 257 is part of that carry forward. I say carry over, but really we're kind of carrying forward to next year's budget. So I just want to see we are close to having again, that's if we collect everything, that's if we spend every dime. And but we're pretty close to a balanced budget. And hopefully, we're estimating our fund balance just to go down as much as it costs us to do the projects that we've done recently with the vehicles, the playground, the roof. So, well, a better updated number on that probably in the September board meeting and see where we finished up. So that's kind of where we stand with that. So the two things that are called encumbrances that will move forward are the AC, the $153,000 and $78,000 with the switches for West Boyd to kind of update our computers to work a little better. Okay. You want to go to 199? So as we have in the past, there's 22, 23 versus 23, 24, and the differences. And I've just made some notes out there really for me, just so I remember from year to year why something went up, something went down. But you can go through that and see why something that's increased a lot, some that decreased a lot. We've had some of it, we don't have ESSER 2 anymore. We use that up, so we're just using the ESSER 3. We probably have 1 year left with that, with salaries, and we'll add those people back onto the local budget. There's some firewall stuff that we need from technology, some access points. You'll see some of it went down. See, we bought some calculators in middle school 1 year. We're not doing it this year, this next year, so. Some has gone up, some has gone down. The credit recovery software is what we're going to use at DAP for their curriculum. We reached out and checked some references on that, and there's some Pace Academy, I believe, in Carthage uses that software, so that's the price of that. Union Health Corps, that's the individual that we're splitting with for the mental health, for not just their students, but their staff also.
Yeah.
So we bought AEDs last year. So this year I've had a little bit of money in there just in case somebody needs one battery for one AED machine. And by the way, we do have an AED machine here now, just in this building for anything goes on in here or out there in the community room. We got one on site and not to run to the campus and get it. So we'll get trained on that pretty near future. Bought the Suburbans. Those are all in. Showed up last week.
Do we have them?
We have them.
That's awesome.
And, we had to drive the three Suburbans that we traded in over there. And I'm glad that we bought these Suburbans. When I say I wasn't sure I was going to make it. So
It was kind of fun.
Yeah.
It felt like it was like, have you ever seen the movie, not Talladega Nights, where the guys get hurt, Tom Cruise, and they get out, and they're supposed to go to
Days
Eagle Hunt, Days of Thunder,
Yes.
and we pull up, and man, these Suburbans we got, I'm thinking they're not gonna know if we rub on each other going down the
I'm
road.
sure they moved my back.
Like the horn was blowing on one of them, just would not stop blowing. I'm like, fight, you can drive that one.
But we got those in, they're good to go. We're getting the stickers from the side, and they'll be ready to go. We dropped 50,000 in that 6,600 for, we bought band uniforms. We're not gonna add that this year's budget. Increased little travel expenses just because everything has gone up. Audit service has gone up a little bit. There's some added new law. Every time they add new law, they have to add a little bit of manpower. Legal fees, I'm gonna just add a little more legal fees. I'm sure you're aware of that. Region 7 costs, we also added a few things on Data Suite that our PIMS coordinator can use to check data efficiently. Utilities, that's the electric bill, the main thing, electric bill on that. Our insurance went up and a lot. And so.
What percentage did it go up?
Anybody that's their insurance didn't go.
Yeah, no, it's.
50%. Dang.
Those are locks in prior year. Some expenses still may come up with locks if we come across something that we're still trying to finish that project up. But as a whole, that's about it.
And the roof will be finished.
Yes, and it's substantial completion as we speak, but they are going to put some edging around and get more side over there.
All the ACs are scheduled to be done, or they're going to be coming in
They're still coming in. I think when we order them, there's a 6-month waiting period or something like that. We ordered those a while back, but we're not the only ones. I talked to the maintenance director at Carthage yesterday, and he said the same thing. They're I believe it's Carthage.
Are ours still working efficiently though?
My daughters are going to school with sweat top on, so.
Oh, good. Yeah.
The problem is that those are running, we're robbing parts to fix them. They're fixing them have a new type of Freon, if I remember right. They're not gonna sell the Freon that those old ones use, so it's a good thing we'll get it fixed. And when we take those off, we're not going to discard them. We're going to use those to rob parts for other machines. So we know we get going there.
Refurbished.
Yeah. Anything else?
Fully sure those AEDs are available when those letter scores come out.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir. We'll have you
Get
set
your
shit right
training,
here.
yeah, get your training back.
Not sure bad, like, sure
Hey,
they charge.
they're real simple to use. They have a little diagram on them, so.
So there's a food service budget. Again, there's three budgets the board approves, 199, 240, and 599. So food service, it's pretty consistent from year to year. We got a pretty good returns this past year as far as our reimbursement rate has gone up. So, the 6,600 that you see that has gone down, we bought a basically big pot that boils water and has a tilting mechanism. There's one campus that didn't have one, and they needed one just for safety. So we got them. But we'll have one for next year. We don't need that next year. So that's kind of where we stand with 240. 599 is obviously our INS, our bond payment. So we'll have a little bit of surplus there with intentions of next month looking at cash deficiency again. And that'll be on the agenda next month. Yeah. All right. So that's the hearing. Any discussion?
So, any comments? All right, we'll roll on into action items.
Close the public hearing portion of the meeting, continue with the board meeting agenda.
Mr. Malum, you're up. Don't sit down yet.
Yeah.
Well, we're approving the budget now?
Yeah.
So go back to the first page for me. Just make sure everybody's clear on that deficit budget, that a lot of it is carried forward from last year. And I'm gonna ask again here in a little bit, and just move some money in prior year. And, but this is the new year budget with that tax rate, with M&O and INS rate with a total of 0.9405, which is below the voter approved tax rate. If we have to go above that, we have to get voter approval. So that's kind of where we're standing.
So you want to approve the budget first?
All right, do I have a motion to approve the 2023-24 school year budget as presented?
Mr. President, I make a motion.
A motion by Ms. Haley, second by Mr. Smith. Any further discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. Need a motion to approve the school year tax rate of 0.9405, composed of M&O rate of 0.6984 and INS rate of 0.2421 for 2023-24 as presented.
I'll second it, Mr. President.
Have a motion by Mr. Crawford, a second by Mr. McElwain. Any further discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. Do I have a motion to approve? Move the $6 million of
Yeah.
committed balance for construction and remove $1 million of other committed fund balance.
And we'll talk a little bit about that.
Okay, so a couple of years, well, 3, maybe 4 years, is the last, not this legislative session, but the one before that, there was a talk about, some recapture, basically, like a chapter 41 payment we used to do, is basically some kind of recapture on the fund balance, if it's above a certain amount. There was just talk about that, so at that time at the board meeting, we designated that for construction and COVID-related costs, if I remember right. So when we do that, it kind of lowers our unassigned fund balance, which is kind of causing us to fail one part of the first report. Remember the first report, we got like a 79, I believe we couldn't get above 79 because we didn't have that fund balance that was unassigned. And so we kept it there, went through this legislative session. Now we're going to release that, so to speak, back into an unassigned fund balance.
So hopefully our first report.
Get a motion?
Mr. President, I so move.
Motion by Mr. Smith,
I'll second it.
second by Ms. Amy. Any further discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. Do I have a motion to approve the budget amendments across functions as presented?
Mr. President, also, let me discuss it just right quick.
Real quick, let me give you a-
Yeah. So I have to have board approval before I move money from cross functions, so that's what this is. I'm moving some expenditures, we got some surplus in some functions, some deficits are maybe having some deficits, we still gotta do August accruals, which is just a little accounting thing. I don't wanna go over any function, so this just protects us from failing any kind of audit or getting dinged the audit for overspending any function. So I'm not asking for any more money, we're just moving some money that we're here, we're gonna move to different function. Okay, so there's no additional money needed.
Any motion?
I make a motion.
I ain't gonna do it now.
I make a motion.
Got a motion by Mr. Amy, got a second?
I'll second that.
Got a second by Mr. Smith. Any further discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carried.
I think the next item is J, approved technology purchase of Chromebooks not to exceed $125,000. You'll recall, last year or this year with online testing, we had to get the kids to turn their Chromebooks in at the high school. We had to make sure they were all, I don't know what they call the word, washed down, because they had to be transported over to the campuses to take the test. And then we were able to bring them all back. Well, we've got some older Chromebooks that need to be replaced, and we need to get, since everybody's required to take the test online now, we need to make sure we have some Chromebooks that are reliable and things of that nature. So this is our IMA money that we have. And so West Boyd's asking not to exceed $125,000 for Chromebooks.
How many is he estimating?
I believe it's
538. That's-
yeah. 538.
Wow.
Do we need that many?
I imagine. It's been a while.
Yeah, I mean, we almost got 1,500 kids.
And
We pretty much
everybody's taking the
got
test online?
one per every kid. I mean, they pretty much have one Chromebook for every kid. Some kids don't take it home at the age that they're at, but when it comes to testing, and if we got, like, let's say we've got third, fourth, and fifth all testing,
On the same day?
and then you might have a high school or middle school grade testing math. If math yeah, we've got to have that.
Is that gonna be enough?
Well, we're still using our other ones.
Right.
We'll use the good ones, kind of, that we have.
Seems pretty cheap.
Well, I'm not
I mean,
complaining.
it seems like it.
Mhm.
I just-
All right, I need a motion to approve technology purchase of approximately 500 Chromebooks not to exceed $125,000 to prepare to be paid with instructional materials allotment funds as presented.
Mr. President, I so move.
Got a motion by Mr. Smith,
Second.
second by Mr. Skinner, I want to call you Mr. Stevens, but Mr. Skinner. Okay, any further discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries.
The next item is our ground maintenance bid. Again, we had one bid. We're very pleased with them. It is our current Sanford and Son current company. Bid you have before you is $118,000, and they kind of. How long have they been?
It's been forever.
Forever.
DNC did it 1 year, I don't think I was here, so 10, 11 years since they had that.
Yeah.
So it's been several.
And we put that out when nobody comes in and bids, and we're very pleased with. They do a
Yeah, they do a
fantastic
great
job.
I
They do.
was
I
just
agree.
curious, I remember they first started, I was like,
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think Sloan and I looked it up. It's going about 10,000 every year, which, I mean, costs fuel.
Yeah.
Give them raise.
Yeah.
I think last year they were the same.
So you remember what it was last year compared to this year?
108. But they do good.
Yeah, they do.
Okay, I need a motion to approve the 2023-24 bid for district lawn service from Sanford and Son Incorporation in the amount of $118,000 presented. A motion by Mr. Crawford, there's a second.
I'll second it.
And a second by Mr. Williams, you get you to it. Any further discussion? All in favor? All opposed? None, motion carried.
Okay, the next item is to designate 10 non-business days for the 23-24 calendar. Beginning September 1st, districts can designate 10 days. And so besides the holidays that you normally get. We received, I think we've up to 6 this month PIRs, is that correct? We've received quite a few. Normally it's about the same thing. Sometimes it can take a little more time. So started looking at this year's calendar. So you've got 10 days till December 31st of 23. We're not going to use all 10. We could if we wanted to, but it kicks back over in January 1st of 24. You got 10 days. So you got to think about from January to December 31st. And so we don't even know what our calendar is going to look like next year. So we try to space these out, and we'll put this on our PIR page to where if we're leaving for Christmas, you know, we'll have enough time if there's one that pops up right before. So when we get back, nobody has to come in here on the Christmas holidays and get this out. It used to be you could basically when your school was not in business, but now it's all, you get 10 designated days, school districts do. Guess it's like being in the real world. These are the days that we're suggesting. So this year, we're going to take a few days in our Thanksgiving break, November the 20th through the 22nd and November 24th. And then we're going to take a few days in Christmas too. And then a few more days this Christmas. So the spring semester, we have January the 2nd through the 5th right now. So that's going to leave us, I guess, 6 more days that we get to pick for next year in the fall. And so as you see, we picked more than probably 6 days this fall. So we've got to make sure that we've kind of got a tentative if we had the same type of calendar. But we would post this on our website. So if anybody does do a PIR, then we would have it. They can see that, hey, we're not obligated to do it.
All right, do I have a motion to approve the House Bill 3033 designation requirement of 10 non-business days on the Texas Public Information Act for calendar year 2023-24 as presented?
Mr. President, I so move.
A motion by Mr. Smith,
I'll second it.
and a second by Ms. Amy. Any further discussion? All in favor? All opposed? None, motion carries.
The next item is to consider and approve nominees to the Russ County Appraisal District Board of Directors. I know it's been in the past that we've nominated Mr. Harkless. Mr. Harkless did come by and visit with me. He is still interested in serving, but I believe the process is once right now that we just recognize him as a nominee at this time, and then we'll get the votes later, and then we can designate that at a later date. Yeah, consider the nominees. So basically, it's going to approve this group right here. Yeah, I mean, I think it'd be nice. All right, it's going to be Drew Butler, Denny Ibby, Mr. Clifford Harkless, Mr. Pat McCory, and Ms. Nisha Flake.
Everybody hear that?
Yeah.
All right, so do I have a motion to approve the nominees to the Russell County Appraisal District Board of Directors?
Mr. President, I so move.
Motion by Mr. McElwain,
Mr. President, I second.
second by Mr. Smith. Any further discussion? All in favor? All opposed? And motion carries. Okay.
That's you. I'll put that on there. I don't know if you want to go or not.
I'm trying.
If you're not going,
What's the date of it?
The 20,
it's the end of the September.
September 28th to October 1.
Is that the one that matters?
Yes.
Yeah.
I didn't know if you want to do it or not.
Well, I'm gonna look into it, but I'll give her a thing.
If not, Kip will be more than happy to do that.
Oh, hello.
Yeah.
You should be expert on the process.
You gonna make a motion?
That motion.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't forget the Aggies are playing on Saturday, so.
Yeah, well, that's when it is.
I know.
We'll do it.
At Jerry's World. I'll text you the other day.
She's
Yeah.
already kind of set me up for you anyway, so I'll let her know if anything.
Okay.
All right, so I need a motion to approve Mr. Everett Allen Jr. as official voting delegate to the 2023 TASB Delegate Assembly.
Make a motion.
Motion by Mr. Crawford, second by Mr. Skinner. Any further discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carried.
All right, the last thing, consider a MOU with the Tatum ISD Police Department, something that we try to do every year. Again, I think we're gonna be having one from, I heard Panola County will be presenting one possibly as well. But right now, we've got the city of Tatum and their MOU with us. It's pretty standard. So it's actually the one that we gave them last year. So nothing's changed at all.
All right, I need a motion to approve Tatum Independent School District Police Department and City of Tatum Police Department memorandum of understanding as presented.
Mr. President, I so move.
A motion by Mr. Smith, a second.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? Second by Ms. Amos, any further discussion? All in favor? All opposed? None, motion carries.
And I do need to go in.
All right. Board now convening closed session meeting to discuss the following items posted on our agenda this evening to allow the Texas Government Code 551.074 personnel matters and security personnel devices and audits as allowed by Texas Government Code 551.076. No voting will take place in the closed meeting. Any action the board wishes to take as a result of discussion in the closed meeting will take place after the board meeting. It is now 6:42 p.m.